Some local guy in Belgium just spat at him at his face.
Oh my God, that's really bad. Wow.
And say, go back to your own country. When I was looking for a flat, we will have these signs like the house for rent, and we will call the number. And I got hung up a lot. They will ask, oh, are you Chinese? And then they don't want to speak to me. You are the Chinese volunteer. But I don't find that funny though, because I was the only Chinese. I feel like it was personal. I took that extra task. But I wasn't feeling right.
They come to me and yell like ching chong, and then sometimes they make this kind of funny face, and they would yell ni hao or konnichiwa, annyeonghaseyo from far away.
Today, we will share with you our personal stories and how we face discriminations. At the end of the episode, there will be a surprise. So don't go away. Make sure you watch it till the end. My channel is called A Cup of Tea. It's about exploring the world, see things beyond the eyes of tourists over a social setting, a cup of tea. If you find it interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel now so you won't miss more videos like this. Let's do this.
Have you been discriminated before?
Well, I wasn't physically abused
Lucky
to
for
begin
you.
with. But a friend of mine actually got beat up on the street. Just because he's a Asian looking guy. Yeah. The story goes like this. He and his wife got out of a cinema. Some local guy in Belgium just spat at him at his face.
Oh my God, that's really bad. Wow.
So he tried to reason with this guy with the question, why are you doing this? Right? Then that local guy took his collar and said, go back to your own country. Like, without knowing where he is from and what he's doing there. He's actually doing a PhD. So he's one of our, elites. He's super intelligent and he's just studying there. It's a short stay. It's not like he's using up the resources of the country or something.
In fact, he is contributing to the country. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. And so they were fighting on the floor. The wallet of that guy, of the local guy, fell off on the floor, and the wife of my friend took the wallet as a evidence to show the police like who that guy is, the offender. And then they went to the police and got a medical report.
Yes. Yeah. That's really bad. I mean, I couldn't imagine such a professional, especially elite, going to a foreign country, actually contributing knowledge, but in fact got this kind of
got treated that way. Yeah.
Yes.
My personal story, unpleasant experience. When I was looking for a flat as a student, we will have these signs like the house for rent, and we will call the number. And I got hung up a lot. They will ask, oh, are you Chinese? And then they don't want to speak to me, and they will just hang up. Later, I got to talk to the owner, the landlord, and he explained that, well, because they have certain perception about Chinese, that they always cook big meals that has weird smell, or that would make the kitchen dirty. So they wouldn't want to have a Chinese tenant living in. But as we explained, well, I was living with my Belgian boyfriend at that time. We clean well. That's the thing. So it's not really
it's not people
discrimination over Asians or Chinese. It's what they have, their perception about the food and what the cooking might damage their kitchen. There's a reason behind it. Yeah, it's more about the stereotype, not understanding enough
In my experience, I got a lot of not physically abused, but I got catcallings a lot, and people would come up to me. I think mostly they're just white trash, they come to me and yell like ching chong, and then sometimes they make this kind of funny face, and they would yell ni hao or konnichiwa, annyeonghaseyo from far away. And some people actually really told me that, wow, there's so many Chinese people, and they would simply assume that I am one of them. So most of the time I feel uncomfortable.
It certainly happened to me a lot that maybe I got used to it. Well, people do the ching ching chong chong, ni hao, konnichiwa, this kind of thing in the shops, on the street, when I'm biking or walking. And in the end, I think they're just trying to connect with you.
Okay.
And this might very likely be the only word that they know in Chinese or in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they want to make fun of you or they assume you don't speak English. I think it's just kind of the only thing they know, and they guess. Yeah, and they will try different languages until you have a reaction. And for them, it's like, oh, I guess it right. And most of the time, we don't really have a follow-up conversation. It's just to say hi and then, ni hao, konnichiwa, konnichiwa. At that time, I didn't even know much Japanese, but it depends. If they greet me, I agree back.
Okay. Oh, so you greet them whatever language they are trying to greet you in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Bonjour, bonjour. I don't really mind, because for me, it's a greeting. And I think sometimes if we look beyond the language, how it's spoken, I think we can focus more on what they're trying to say, what their motivation is. If they are trying to make a connection, they want to get to know you, that's just a starting point. Hello. We should not stop a possible friendship at hello, right?
Okay.
If I assume, oh, why is he speaking Japanese to me? Do I look Japanese? Well, I think I had that thought before. But in the end, I knew that they could not distinguish among Asian faces. And it's probably a good guess that they think we are Chinese because the most population is from there. And they say ni hao all the time. Yes, because of that. It's a good guess. Yeah, you might say, but there are other countries in Asia, but they might not know. And it's up to us to educate them what kind of ways that we are more comfortable in connecting with them. If we feel offended or not, I think it's up to us to tell them how we want to be treated. If there's certain relation building going on.
I mean, speaking of this, I have a different opinion with you, because for me, it is rather uncomfortable to be presumed not speaking English when people say ni hao, konnichiwa, or that kind of greetings to me. And I'm not sure about you, but I've kind of felt their motivation is try to make fun of my appearance and also my skin color. But yeah, for me, I think Asia is very, very huge. We have like around 48 countries, and people with small eyes and yellow color could be someone from Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, Philippines. But a lot of Western people, like not all of them, just some people, they only understand Asia as China, Japan, and Korea, and maybe North Korea. And the rest of the country, they didn't know. So for someone like me from Southeast Asia, we don't say ni hao ma on general basis. We don't say ni hao ma to strangers. We say hi or maybe hello. So same like other Eastern Asian, I'm not sure how they feel, but I would say it is rather uncomfortable after having so many encounters as such, like this, having fun. But yeah, of course, maybe like what you say, you gave me another perception of this, like maybe not all of them are meant harm. Most of the time they just say ni hao and you greet them and ni hao, and the conversation just stops there and it just ends. Yeah. But in my opinion, I really think that if you are in UK or US and you see an Asian people, most of them, they speak English, and you can just go with them, say hello or hi. And if you really want to practice the language or befriend them in their language, maybe in the next sentence or the third sentence as you carry on the conversation. Yeah. This is just my thoughts. Yeah. And speaking of educations, like I have another opinion. Sometimes when we think that we can educate them, but I also felt like it is part of their responsibility to understand our culture, to understand that not all of us, we like to have this kind of greetings, or not all of us speak that kind of language as well. So I think it goes both ways. We can also educate them, but as a minorities being in their countries, they should educate themselves as well before they approach, having that kind of approach and curiosities. And if you're really curious about Asian people or other ethnicity, yeah, probably you should have a basic understanding first. Yeah, maybe that's
they could have a class in school called cultural understanding.
Yes. Yeah, cultural understanding of other countries, Southeast Asia. Yeah.
But then it really depends on how each person wants to be treated.
Okay.
Right. Personally, I appreciate that they approach me, that they try to initiate a conversation, because some other times a hello, a 你好, turn into a beautiful friendship. That's just like a opening line to say hello. And then we will try to look for a common language that we can both comfortably converse with. Yeah. For me, it's not that I feel there's any assumption that they think I don't speak English. I have an experience that people try to speak to me with their language in Dutch. And I say, but can't you see that I'm Asian? Why are you keep on speaking Dutch?
To me.
Yeah. And he said, well, I didn't know, maybe you are the second or third generation living here.
That's great.
Yeah, that happens too. I mean, it's possible either way. You can explain your background story to the other person if you want, but it should not be because if you think they are making fun of you without effect, without asking them what is their true intention, if you don't know, then you're also assuming. Right? So it's like, people look at you maybe with the generalization. Yeah, you look Asian, so the only Asian word I know is 你好. So I go to you with it. And sometimes I have good experience if they meet me. And sometimes they would maybe talk to you and you don't feel like talking to them. It depends.
Another time that I thought I was being discriminated, it was at my previous job. At a meeting, suddenly our director said, we have a new project and we need somebody to take that on. We need a Chinese volunteer. And she winked at me. Being the only Chinese in the department, I thought it had to be me. So I took that extra task. But I wasn't feeling right. At the end of the meeting, I talked to some of my colleagues and I thought, was I being discriminated? Being the only Chinese in the department, and she asked for a Chinese volunteer. At that time, it was my first time hearing this term. My colleagues explained to me, Chinese volunteer in Dutch actually came from the historical event. In the late 19th century, a lot of Chinese were transported to work in different plantations in the world as cheap laborers. And they're actually taken against their will. So the Chinese volunteer means that they have to do things unwillingly. But it could have been any of us because we all didn't want that extra task. I was the only Chinese, that's why I thought it was personal. Is that strictly discrimination? I think the definition of discrimination is based on subjective feeling. But would you feel bad if you try to understand more and you realize people are not really trying to attack you? They're just using the terms that they know, the tags that this world created. Maybe you wouldn't be that angry anymore. If I would have stopped at the point where I felt bad and did not question further, then yes, it would be an unpleasant discrimination. But I took that one step further to understand people's true intention. I still don't like that term. I don't find it funny. She could have just said, "We need a volunteer," and that's it. The winking was strange too. Anyway, what I wanted to say is give people a chance. They might not know better. With the limited knowledge, they're trying to make a connection with you. Give yourself a chance. Learn from one another. Build a person-to-person relationship with more understanding. And that way, stereotypes or discrimination, those cases would just no longer stand. A discrimination doesn't have to be a discrimination if there is more understanding. Don't forget to hit subscribe. 按下订阅，我们下次见，拜拜。